I have been riveted by a video I saw last night online. I don't know who he is. He's described as a news reporter. His name is Jonathan Pye. He's a Brit, and sometimes the British have a very succinct way of cutting right to the chase, like this guy does.
Just what baffles me is this fashion for stifling language and opinion comes from the left. Liberals. Students saying you can't do this, you can't do that. Students are meant to be like Rick from The Young Ones, not Mary White House. All this youthful energy, concentrating on stopping debates rather than winning them. No wonder being right-wing is the new rock and roll on uni campuses. That's how you rebel these days. You vote Tory. Mental. Being a student used to be pound a pint down the union. Now, the NUS has raised alcohol prices to curb binge drinking. You've got students calling for statues of dead men to be torn to the ground because they were colonialists. I'm not being funny, but who wasn't? It's not an honour to have a statue in your image or a building in your name 100 years after your death. You're dead. It's no longer an honour, it's a reminder. They're reminders of how we got to where we are. Our history is being erased by students. Some of them history students. It's revision, Orwellian. All for fear of causing offence. Literature. If you're offended by To Kill a Mockingbird because it uses language of its time that is no longer acceptable, if you can't make that distinction, then you're an idiot. And you have no appreciation of context, and you have no place to in literature degree. And yet certain unis, they're putting trigger warnings on these novels because they may cause offence. How many times do you hear that? This was edited, censored, banned, because it may cause offence. I'm sorry, but no one has a right not to be offended, because offence, it's entirely subjective. It's no, I'll tell you what it is. It's utter, absolute, wanky, cheese bollocks, is what it is. Arrest me. Feel better now. Okay.
Yeah, I think we all feel a little better after listening to that. Rich Lowry writes a similar theme. Woke censorship is basically a superstitious cult, he says. We're living in a society right now gripped by a quasi-religious fervor, obsessed with symbols and irrational fears. Anything that's thought to have the slightest association with racism, no matter how attenuated the connection or how innocent the explanation, must be crushed, must be expunged. The mere presence of a possibly offending word is deemed a threat, whether it's truly offensive or any real people have actually taken offense. Ours is an enchanted world like that of the old Norse, who believed in land spirits who could bless or hinder travelers who didn't pay them heed. Our society isn't progressing, he writes, but falling back into a superstition that everyone must believe or pretend to believe for the supposed welfare of the community. A NASCAR garage pole is shaped like a noose, so everyone immediately assumes that a racist has snuck into Bubba Wallace's garage to send a nefarious signal to him. When the FBI says no, sometimes a garage pole is a garage pole, and this one's been there since October of 2019, people still insist it was a noose, because the will to believe is so strong, and hey, better safe than sorry. The Dixie Chicks changes its name to the Chicks, even though there was nothing remotely wrong with the origin of the name. It wasn't referring to the folk song Dixie. It was referring to an album from the band Little Feat called Dixie Chicken. No rational person would ever hear the name the Dixie Chicks and feel excluded. But the woke shamans are defining a new world. It's really a fascinating column. Rich Lowry will post that at MikeOnline.com. We'll also post that video clip of that news guy from Britain, Jonathan Pye,